Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense. It's the show where me and John talk about pro wrestling and whether or not it makes sense. And we got some good news for the wrestling world because, of course, we're the only podcast in town. So we are the first to break this news, I assume. But the WWE is going back on the road.
Woohoo!
Hooray. I think AEW have started to go back on the road, have they?
Well, they had more fans in at Daly's place for the last month or 6 weeks or so. But
Okay.
starting this week, they're going on the road to, I think their first show is in Florida again, but Miami.
Ah, the classy part of Florida.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know if that's true.
they've already sold about 3,500 tickets in a 4,800 venue. So
Pretty good.
yeah, doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. And then I assume they're gonna be just kind of going to the neighboring towns and cities from from Florida and then branching out a little bit kind of that way. They're not doing a full scale tour of the United States, are they?
I believe they are. Yeah, it's like a slow and steady kind of thing where I
Yeah.
think they're gonna stick with the states where it's the loosest restrictions, and then kind of spread out a bit because obviously they've got that big show in New York coming up in September as well at the stadium that is used for the US Open. So they are branching out eventually.
I see. Yeah, they're gonna play it at a tennis stadium, right?
Yeah, sounds pretty wild.
Are we gonna see another stadium stamp? Is it every time they go to a stadium, they have to have a stadium stampede match?
Oh God, I hope not.
Oh, but John, don't you understand the wonders of a stadium stampede match? Think of the fun you could have with a horse. It's amazing. It's a grand spectacle, and with fans there, wouldn't they love to see that on tape?
Well, yeah, that's the thing though. They would see it on tape. They might as well
Wouldn't
watch it at home.
wouldn't they just love to sit in a big arena and just watch this 50-minute long piece of wank on a big screen? Well, I paid $60 for this. That might not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the point we're making is that COVID restrictions seem to be lifting, and we'll see how well this podcast ages when we say that. Because in the UK as well, restrictions are starting. They're going to be lifted in July.
July 18th, I believe the date is.
Yeah, and I don't want to derail the podcast right now too much. I'm going to say I feel like this is going to backfire the way it did last year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like we haven't really learned too many lessons.
This feels exactly the same as last year.
But I guess with the more people being vaccinated now, it's not as as dangerous. But even still, people are still getting sick, and the vulnerable people are being put at risk by all these rushed out raising of the whatever you want to call them, sanctions or whatever. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, interesting, but also not fun.
No, not fun at all.
No, not fun. But hey, the last 2 years haven't been fun, and we've just had to sit back and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to be doing soon. Lucky, I mean, to be fair, I'm going to be getting my second shot soon. And once I get my second shot, I'm like, fuck it, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be coughing on people all day long. What are they going to do about it?
I'm going to feel invincible when I get my second shot.
Yeah, we'll just go around fucking smashing stuff,
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, shoot me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Bullets are no match for AstraZeneca. I don't know which one you got. I get the AstraZeneca.
I think I got the other one.
Yeah, I got the AstraZeneca, and then 2 days later they were like, from now on, you get to choose between AstraZeneca and the other one. They're like, oh, what? But then I'm like, well, who gives a shit? I'm not dead, so it's probably safe.
Yeah.
How about that for statistics? Oh boy. So obviously we're experts on COVID as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the America, they've started to loosen up some of their restrictions, and so that means that after a year and a half of not having a whole lot of fans in the audience, now they can actually go. Other wrestling companies are going to start doing it too. They're going to be able to expand a lot more and go to other towns and cities again and do tours. So, that's a good upside, I think, for a lot of people. It feels like we're getting back to a little bit closer to normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
If that is a word, it sounds like a word, but then I said it out loud. I'm like, maybe not. So I think what I really hope for about this whole thing, my real one hope, true wish, if I could wish upon a star, would be this. Yes, I would totally waste that wish on something as trivial as this. That now that they're going back on tour, all the wrestling companies, not just the WWE, although mainly the WWE, now that they're going back on tour and not sat in one building for a year and a half, hopefully that means the end of everybody's favorite part of the pandemic era, the cinematic matches.
Yeah.
I would very much like them to go away and never come back again. I don't know about you. I think I do know about you, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, we've seen enough cinematic matches by now. I think it's safe to say.
Do you know what's so weird about the cinematic matches is just how many of them have been just batshit insane.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look at the AJ Styles Undertaker one, it's shot in a movie kind of cinematic way, but it's really just a fight between two guys, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is. But then you see some of the other ones, you're like, I don't even know what the fuck to call this. Like the fucking swamp fight with Bray Wyatt and stuff. You're like,
yeah.
what I don't, what is this? And like, I guess it got a bit too meta for me. My small, silly, foolish mortal brain is unable to understand the brilliance of some of these wonderfully shot. But then again, like, all this shit started before the pandemic anyway. This fucking Matt Hardy thing. So
yeah, but I mean, the pandemic did kick it into overdrive, and it became like the go-to kind of thing for like a good few months, where it seemed like there was at least one cinematic match a month. And I mean, I kind of respect them for taking advantage of the shitty situation that we're all in, the fact there's no fans, and that they could do something a bit different and present something unique. But good God, like it was just, more bad than it was good for the most part. Like it was just, there's a lot of hokey stuff on there, which made it look worse because, if it was decently written and decently produced and just engaging, man, like it would have been okay. But it just looked so cheap, and there was always like a tongue firmly in cheek, and I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it took an awful lot of the edge of it off. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like, once you start presenting shit like that, it just doesn't feel like a proper fight anymore. It just wasn't right, and I didn't like that. But on the flip side, whenever you're doing a tour around the world or around the United States, it's gonna be very hard to start pulling those kind of matches out of the bag. Which let's keep that shit going. So I think it's gonna be a good time for people now that they're gonna be able to see the rest and go out on the road again. And it's been a long time coming. I think AEW needed that audience more than the WWE did.
No, I disagree with that completely.
Okay, because I think the WWE, I think the Thunderdome was a clever workaround, right? But AEW, because it's the WWE, right? They're gonna be okay. They're gonna figure out ways to do this shit, right? But AEW were starting to get into their stride with the fans, and they were having sold out shows, and they were doing really well. And then their momentum got cut short by the pandemic, right? So I feel like because of that, they kind of lost their footing when it came to booking the show. Like I 100% believe the whole Hikaru Shida thing was just a stopgap till they got fans again, because they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to book it right, which again shows you how flimsy their women's division was. But that they wanted Britt Baker to be, the woman with the fans there, and
Yeah.
I feel like them not having proper fans in there kind of threw the momentum off a little bit, in my opinion. So I feel like once they go back on the road, we're gonna see more of the it's no secret that I haven't been a big fan of the AEW product in the last couple of months. But I feel like once fans come back, maybe they'll have to like pay a bit more attention to their booking and how they make characters look,
Well, I think AEW, they started bringing fans back in a limited capacity, like way back in late August last year. So it was only, small crowds, like 10, 15% of the capacity of Daly's place at first. But them having fans was, good for the wrestlers and kind of good for the product as well. Whereas WWE, man, like, those first few months before the Thunderdome were just dreadful.
Oh yeah,
Like,
they were weird. Yeah.
no one enjoyed that empty arena, completely silent show feel to it. And then, fair play to the Thunderdome for kind of improving things, but again, to me, it just felt like quite hokey. Like it was, you see the fans on the screens and everything, which hey, that's okay, that's something. But like, you kind of wonder if it's just footage they've shot before and then they've stuck up again. And then they're piping in like all the
Yeah.
crowd noises from the video games, it sounds like, not the actual people watching it. So it just felt so artificial and fake. Whereas, at least AEW has had proper fans in making noise and stuff. So I think this is why WWE really need to get back on the road and get back in front of fans again, because God, they've missed them.
Then you get into a sticky situation because they were getting ready to go back onto the road, and their fans sure have missed them. But also, WWE haven't really given them a whole lot of shit to make people want to come out and pay money to see that ticket.
Yeah.
They're like, oh wow, I hope I get a Bray Wyatt match.
Yeah.
I hope Alexa Bliss spits something out of her face. It's they haven't done a very good job of like encouraging people to want to turn up to one of their shows. They're just banking on the fact that hey, people are just gonna be happy to get out of their house over the end of lockdown. They're gonna be just gonna be throwing money at us. Like they would have been throwing a lot more money at you had you done a better show. But that's just what I think. So you have some statistics about the WWE going on the road?
Yeah, so it all kicks off next Friday, the 16th of July. They're doing like a mini tour of Texas first. So you got Houston for SmackDown, then they're in Fort Worth for Money in the Bank, and then on the Monday night they're in Dallas. So that seems to be like the pattern they're going with going forward as well, is doing like a whole 4-day loop on the weekend. So it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a Monday show, with Friday and Saturday Friday and Monday obviously being SmackDown and Raw, and then Saturday and Sunday being what they've called super shows, which are effectively just live events. Yeah. So I mean, it's good that they're not like diving straight back into it and trying to pick up as things were. And yeah, it's because like this is going to be a weird thing for the wrestlers themselves and the production crew and everyone really, because they've been effectively working 1 day a week for the past whatever it is, 14, 15 months, whatever. So to go from that to jumping into touring again and being on the road and doing all the things that come with being on the road as well, like having to travel and stay at hotels and find gyms to work out in and all that kind of stuff, like that takes its toll. And these guys have basically had the last year and whatever months to rest and recover and, let their bodies heal. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if going back on the road is going to have like a really, adverse effect on them. Because if you think about it, there hasn't been a lot of injuries over the last year because they haven't been, pushing themselves in terms of wrestling so many times a week or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens.
Well, they had that whole like thing at the Performance Center, didn't they? Where Vince McMahon came down to the Performance Center and made everybody turn up so they could kind of see how everybody was like in shape and ready to go for when they went back to touring.
Yeah.
Which, of course, smart move. Get everybody involved to make sure they're ready to go. But the thing about it is, those guys they're pros. Like they're all pros. They all know when not the writers, but I mean like the people who do the shit, the production guys and the wrestlers themselves, and the people who put the sets up and do all the pyro and all that stuff. Like they know exactly what they're doing. Before the pandemic, they were doing what, 1 million shows a week. Roughly.
Yeah.
Approximately 1 million shows a week. And they used to do show. They do like an early show and then move somewhere else and then do another show on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
I think the WWE are such a, and say what you want about them, and we often do, and we already have on this show today, but they know their shit when it comes to like a production standpoint. Like those guys, they're gonna make sure that shit is ready to roll. And I really like how they're doing, like you said, they're doing a little loop over the weekend, which means they're not going, they're not straying too far away from home base, as it were.
Yeah.
They're all kind of in a close enough proximity to each other, like all the dates they're doing. You know what I mean? So like you said, they're starting off small in an area where they know they're going to draw. Texas is pretty good for their wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But they know they're going to draw well there. They can do a couple of shows. Well, they're not going like to every podunk town in Texas, but they're still like hitting some big markets, but they're not doing like a full-blown tour of the United States. And I think that's a good way to maybe do it for the next couple of months, maybe like up to a year, is to like do it in little contained, like do it like state by state,
Mm-hmm.
and then do a loop, like do Friday and then a couple of house shows and then Raw on Monday, and then do it like that, and then gradually go like a little further away from Florida or their home base or wherever it is, and just kind of work their way up the country. But I think that because they're doing it like that, again, there's going to be less travel involved for the production guys, and even though it seems like they're throwing their kind of feet straight into it, it is like a way to ease themselves back into it, because like I said, I feel like the travel would have been way worse like pre-pandemic. So this is their way of treading lightly, I suppose, getting back into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a smart idea. I dig it. I think they'll be okay. Really, I think that whole crew, they know their shit, man.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to what I was saying as well about how this has been good for the wrestlers themselves with being able to only work 1 day a week. I kind of hope that this sees some changes in WWE's philosophy as well when it comes to running their wrestlers into the ground, essentially, because it's such a full-on job, and with the touring and everything, constant travel, and then home for 2 days a week or whatever, they kind of need to have these breaks, and it's good for them, for their health and for their mental health as well. So like I hope that they can kind of work out a way of being able to give these wrestlers a break when they need them, and not have to run them into the ground quite as much as they were in previous years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like if they do stick with like a 4-day kind of Friday to Monday thing, that's achievable.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can work that out. I would like to see that the kind of schedule they do really more long term, I think, because I feel like they really do or they did before the pandemic, like work their asses off and work so many days a year, and it's so much. And you know, I feel like it's better for everybody if they do have an extra day off or two during the week because they fucking deserve it. And like you
Hmm.
said, if you're a wrestler on the road 5 days a week, that's an increased chance of getting an injury. Whereas now when they're only resting once or twice a week, you know, injuries seem to have gone down significantly, which is a good thing. So if they're on the road less, if they're on the road for the two main shows, you know, Raw and SmackDown, and then a couple of spot shows over the weekend, people are still getting paid more than they were during the pandemic. They're not working crazy hours anymore, and they can adjust back into it again, you
Mm.
know, and it's better for them. It's better for their mental health and their physical health is to be able to take a little bit more time off. That's the one thing I really wanted to happen during this whole pandemic is for people to kind of slow down and realize that we all like need time off and we need to rest and recharge. But I feel like so many people just felt like they have to go to work and they have to do this and they have to do that because
Mm.
that's the way the world is. It's driven by constant productivity. Whenever you think about it, you're like, well, really, we could all take an extra day off, and we shouldn't. That shouldn't be a big deal. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation right there. Yeah, we're probably not gonna get into right now because
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with wrestling. But yeah, I feel like having an extra day off or two is totally. I think I would. That's a change for the better if they stick with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows? What we've frequently been proven wrong in the past because the WWE just refused to listen to us.
Hmm.
We always come up with good ideas, and they're never listening to us.
Well, it's their loss.
It is their loss. I see now that they're back on the move again, and they're coming up with more creative shit. I'm like, guys, you need us more than ever now.
Hmm.
And we have very reasonable rates.
Yep.
At least one sausage roll every day.
I'd take that.
Very important. But like, we choose where the sausage rolls come from because I don't know if Americans can make sausage rolls.
It's not really a recognized American dish, is it?
No, would they know? Guys, if you're from America, do you know what a sausage roll is? Answer that in the comments, please. This is very important. We need this kind of research to contact the WWE about. You know, what were we talking about before sausage rolls?
Going back on the road,
Oh yeah.
which I think it's going to be interesting as well to see how the crowds react to like the wrestlers, like in terms of the ones who've kind of really taken advantage of this pandemic era and stood out. So you think like the likes of Bailey and Asuka, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns as well. Like he's a guy who's been like booed pretty relentlessly for most of his career, even when he's been a babyface. And now he is a heel. But he's a super good heel who's also been doing some of the best work of his career, and you'd say probably some of the best work that we've seen during the pandemic as well. So, will that have weirdly earned him the respect of the crowd and see him getting cheered? Or, will he still be getting booed?
That would be typical if they start cheering him. You know what I mean? You're like, they've only just come back on the road, and you're cheering their biggest heel. Like,
Yeah.
play the game a little bit, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like, well, like you said, there's gonna be a couple of guys on that roster who are gonna be itching to get out there and show everybody what they have to offer. Drew McIntyre being one in particular, he is just ready to go. And his year coming out of this pandemic, he is gonna have a great year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was one of the few guys who had a great pandemic year. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I feel like they're going to keep the pressure on that. And once their crowd's back, they're going to eat that up. That's going to be great. The Roman Reigns thing is interesting because, like you said, he's been on such a hot streak. recently where he just has been doing some really great, interesting heel work. The shit we haven't seen from him or the WWE in a long ass time. It's quite astounding how well it all seems to be coming together. And Roman Reigns, kind of proving that he was the right guy all along. They were just using him incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, this Roman Reigns is really cool. That's what we wanted. We wanted a cool Roman Reigns, and we got it. So hopefully, if the fans are smart, they'll boo him now, and then they'll start cheering him in a year's time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're smart, but you never know, man. I feel like, again, for the first couple of months, you really can't judge like the attendance and the chants and stuff, like the way the audience reacts. You can't judge that on the first couple of months, maybe, because people are going to be so excited just to be there. You're going to see that the ticket sales are going to be high for pretty much every company as soon as they start to go back out, because people are going to want to see a show. So ticket sales are going to be high, and people are just going to be jazzed to be there, but they're going to be making noise, So,
well, I think this is why WWE really need to push the belt out as well, and like try and please the fans as much as possible with the booking, because they, we've seen and spoken about before how they have this tendency to kind of tell us what we want to see, even if clearly it isn't. Where now you kind of want fans to feel good about wrestling again and feel like it's a good experience to come out and watch the show and stuff. So what better way to, bring them out and keep them coming out than giving them like the kind of superstar pushes that they want to see and the championship matches they want to see and, all that kind of thing. Like, it's a good opportunity to almost hit the reset button and just change their philosophy a bit.
well, I feel like they're getting close to that. I mean, what do we got? Edge versus Roman Reigns. When is that? Is that Money in the Bank or is that SummerSlam?
I believe that's Money in the Bank.
Wow, they're throwing that away at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Well, what are they going to do at SummerSlam?
I don't know. Probably find an invisible man or something.
Dude, you just said you wanted the storylines from the WWE to improve dramatically. And then you're like, just bring it the Invisible Man. That's the way to get Roman Reigns over? I don't think so. What if he fought Christian? Is he still around?
He's around somewhere, yeah.
That's good enough. Bring him in. We'll find a use for him. That'd be pretty good. Like Edge at Money in the Bank, Christian at SummerSlam. Obviously, Christian's a bigger draw. So you save him for SummerSlam, of course.
Yep.
Interesting. Of course, like Edge versus Roman Reigns. That's a big main event, and it makes sense that it would be the one they're using to headline their pay-per-view, their first pay-per-view. Well, now that they're back on the road.
Yeah.
It's their first pay-per-view. And they've got a good main event for that, right? And I assume the SummerSlam main event is going to be pretty good. I'm going to go out on a limb and just assume that they're not going to fuck up SummerSlam this quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're talking about John Cena coming back to do something.
Yes.
That's going to be a big and you could see him coming back just for SummerSlam, because that would be a big attraction. The fans are just starting to come in. This is the right time to do those spectacle matches, because like you said, people want to see the people they want to see pushed. And Edge and John Cena are fun and great and lovely to see, but Edge and John Cena aren't going to be around carrying that company day in and day out for the next 5 or 6, 7 years, right?
That's right.
But there are guys in that locker room right now that they are starting to focus on and push that could be that kind of contender in a couple of years, like Big E or Cesaro that we've talked about before. They're starting to see pushes for those guys, which is great news, because these are the people we want to see pushed. So it does seem like they are, in their own weird, haphazard way, starting to make moves towards actually pushing people again. Properly, done right. And I hope that, but I imagine that's going to happen after SummerSlam. Like I said, the first couple of pay-per-views are going to be big, like, wow, you can't miss this shit. And What's the one after SummerSlam? Unforgiven? I mean, it's not Unforgiven, obviously, but
I think it might have been Once Upon a Time.
it was on. That's how I remember. It used to be Unforgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Was in September, and then yeah, and then what was October? No Mercy,
No
because
Mercy, yeah.
Survivor Series was November.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you. That's how you remember. It's a simple system. But okay, well, but then whatever it is this year, you know,
Clash of Champions, apparently.
oh well, that's not as bad as it could have been. Could have been Hell in a Cell too, you know.
Well, yeah, they might still squeeze it in.
Oh, that'll be in Saudi Arabia, my friend. They're
Of
gonna bring the cell all the way to Saudi Arabia. And it'll be the greatest Hell in a Cell.
course.
Be the greatest Hell in a Cell. Don't worry about that. There'll be 17 of them, and each one of them the greatest Hell in a Cell you've ever seen. Titus O'Neil steps underneath the cell. How did he do it? Couldn't have seen it coming. I got sidetracked again. Oh yeah, so I figured that in July and August we're gonna see these big bombastic, main events, and probably at Survivor Series too. But Unforgiven and No Mercy, or whatever the fuck, Clash of Champions and whatever comes after Clash of Champions, those you're gonna see. That's when you're gonna see like main events with some of these other guys. I don't think they're gonna keep the spectacular main events run until the Royal Rumble, because they're gonna run out of guys, right? How many more older guys can they trot out before we start running out of big names? They're gonna get to a point where they have no other option but to focus on these younger guys again. And I feel like, well, until I get Goldberg back, I guess. Oh, I forgot all about Goldberg. That's the problem. We keep forgetting about Goldberg. Every time we think we've got a solution to something, like, what about Goldberg?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, he could fuck everything up, couldn't he? What if at Unforgiven, that's the main event, Roman Reigns versus Goldberg?
Ugh. Well, they've been wanting to do it for ages.
Hey, all right, I'm gonna forget about this a long time from now. Somebody, if I'm right about this, Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, I'm gonna guess September or October. I don't think it'll be Survivor Series.
I think maybe WrestleMania, because that's what they were going to do at last year's WrestleMania, but obviously Roman Reigns had to pull out at the last, well, not the last minute, but was that right? I might be completely wrong on that.
No, wasn't it? And then he lost to Bray Wyatt. No, he lost to Braun Strowman.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't blame you for totally forgetting all about that shit. Understandable. But like, you wouldn't want them to try Goldberg versus Roman Reigns 2 years in a row, would you? I wouldn't. Wow. Which again is, that's probably why they'll do it. Yeah, fair enough.
Technically, there's a gap between it as well, so.
Okay. Technically, there's a gap of 1 year. Yep, you were correct, but fair enough. We're good at a lot of things. Maz, not our strong point. We've talked about that before.
Oh yeah.
We do our best. I don't know, man. But all right. Well, okay. You say WrestleMania. What if it happens? See, if it happens in Survivor Series, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed. And not because it happened, but also because I was a month off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something to look forward to. Aren't you excited?
Yeah. Can you just hear the excitement in my voice?
I don't think I've ever heard you more excited for a match. I'm like, you gotta. It sounds like you want to go and see that match in person. You're so excited about it.
Wow. Yeah. If we're not all dead in however many months, then I'll go do that.
Cool. I like it. It's like, hey, we're either gonna die from the pandemic, or in about 5 to 10 years, sun will just explode us all, and we'll be dead that way too. So, that's something to look forward to.
Yep.
May as well watch some wrestling. That's the thing, man. If we're all gonna die in like 10 years because of climate change or whatever, the least they can do is give us a good non-Goldberg main event, right?
Just give us the occasional good Raw as well. That would be nice.
But how? It's impossible. Dude, it is you can't do a good 3 hour long TV show.
No.
It's impossible. Nobody can do it. It's just they should just cut their losses, get rid of the R, or do something better with the R. Why do they have superstars? A main event. Make the first hour of Raw superstars a main event, and put all your young talent on there, and then start Raw on the second hour to run for 2 hours.
Why not? There you go. That's something new, something different, and gives people an opportunity to wrestle, which they wouldn't have otherwise had, but then wrestle on a show which, in theory, you'd get people watching as well, not like superstars or main event or whatever it is now.
But also they're their own lead-in. You know, like if you're interested in wrestling, you'll probably sit and watch the whole thing. But if you're just tuning in for Raw, you can catch the last part of main event and go, oh, maybe that's interesting. Maybe I'll watch that. You know, maybe I'll watch it next week. It's, you know, why are we so good at this?
I don't know, man.
Baffling that they haven't hired us already. We're so fucking smart and talented and handsome.
Yeah, we'd just be printing money for them.
Well, like, I don't think we can do that. I think that's like counterfeiting.
What if it's really convincing, though?
Wow, I'm sure we could figure something out, you know, under the table. Like, if we just came up to Vince McMahon with a stack of money, I'm sure he would take it.
I'm going to keep practicing my money printing and hopefully get it good enough.
Have you seen that episode of Bottom where Richie prints Eddie prints his own money?
No.
You haven't seen that one? Oh, I can't remember who. I think it's Eddie, because Eddie seems to be the smarter one in the duo. And he obviously wouldn't tell Richie that he's printing money, but he prints his own money, and it's got like topless pictures of the Queen on it or something, and it's like a £7 note and stuff like this. And I'm like, oh, that's a good show, man.
It was indeed.
Anyway, I just wanted to take a little detour. What the fuck were we talking about before counterfeit money? I'm the worst person to do a show with because I can't remember anything. I just start talking shit and then I forget what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, so they're back on tour, and interestingly, they're going to be doing a small tour over here in the UK as well in September, I think it is. So,
are they coming to Ireland?
I believe they are. Maybe they aren't. No, they're just doing Newcastle, London, Nottingham, and Glasgow.
Are they taping Raw and SmackDown?
It doesn't. Well, I guess the Monday in London at the O2 Arena, they must be doing a Raw there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say so. Well,
and then cool. Maybe taping SmackDown in Nottingham the next day or Glasgow, but I imagine they're taping it one of those 2 days as well.
Are you going to go?
No.
Oh, you're not that excited about going to see all of the superstars?
If it was Cardiff, I might have been tempted because that's a lot easier to get to. But
oh, you want to go to Glasgow?
Maybe not.
No, is that not close enough?
Nah.
No, okay, fair enough. Well, hey, again, like, it's just a mini tour, and like, you know, they're not even coming to Ireland, so I don't get nothing out of this. But
why don't you go to Glasgow?
I think you'll find it's harder for me to get to Glasgow than you. If you look at your geography map, you'll soon see that there's a sea in between me and Scotland.
Fair enough.
You know, it's very difficult.
Technically, there's Hadrian's Wall between me and Scotland as well.
You can jump that wall. You've seen that wall. Who was that keeping out?
Yeah.
You could clamber over that wall, no problem. Ridiculous, you know? I mean, like, obviously the wall doesn't work because the WWE went from England and they're going to Scotland, presumably through that wall. So whatever way they get into Scotland, you can just follow them.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, could you do that? Can you just follow them and just, like, try to sneak in?
Yeah, just like put on a baseball cap and grab a box or something and start following them into the building or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, who are you? And you're like, I'm security. They're like, come on in. I assume that's as easy as it is. I've never tried to break in anywhere.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's how it works.
Seems about right, doesn't it? Doesn't seem like it would be that hard.
Nah.
No.
Everyone always breaks into places in the movies and TV shows.
And they make it look really easy.
Yeah.
It always happens, and they always get away with it, and there's no issue. So if it can happen in movies, it can happen in real life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say. I don't know who those people are, but I'm sure they've said it. So they're doing a UK tour, mini tour in September. I gotta say, that's pretty ballsy, dude. Like it's July now, and they're doing like parts of the United States, and then they're coming over in September.
Well, we've just basically announced that as of the 18th of July, everything's going back to full capacity again. So all the football matches and stuff, and every other kind of like festival and anything like that. So in theory, shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I get that. What I meant was, I momentarily forgot about the whole pandemic. What I meant was that you would have expected them to kind of branch out in the rest of the United States first before even bothering to come over here. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to Texas and then they're going to what's his name or who's it's or wherever, you know. I would have thought they'd spend a couple more months doing that and then maybe doing like a one-off tour, maybe like the end of the year or something over here after they kind of explored more of the U.S. market. I don't know. It's just, but I guess you know the UK has always been a good market for them.
Yeah. And like I said earlier as well, I'm not sure how many states are, as open and restriction free as the UK will probably be around that sort of time as well. So
doesn't that all sound like bad news? Doesn't it? Like not all of the United States is opened up, but all of the UK can open up.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then I don't know if the south of Ireland have opened up yet. I think they're still kind of restricted.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how are people going to travel between the north and the south? Probably not very well. It's going to be a whole thing. You know, it would have been easier to regulate this shit before Brexit, of course. That would have made all of this much easier. But hey, you wouldn't want to make life too easy, now would you?
Of course not. Where's the fun in that?
Exactly. Where's the fun? Boy, are we having fun. Sticky situations all around, really. Yeah, I imagine they're like it's only like a 4-day tour over here, so they can get away with that. Mm-hmm. And then next year we're gonna see a little bit more of an expansion, a little bit more. So then you'll get your Cardiff show.
Yeah.
Next year. Yeah, that's what I think. And aren't you so lucky? Goldberg turned up. Hooray!
No.
Can you imagine if Goldberg fucking just randomly was there?
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah, because you'd be like, I hate Goldberg, but also this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now I love Goldberg.
Yeah, let's not go too far, jeez.
And then he beats Roman Reigns in like 30 seconds. No?
Nah.
Well, just saying, something to look forward to.
I imagine they're going to go to Saudi Arabia at some point again as well.
Well, I heard they were talking about doing that before the end of the year.
Yeah.
That they were at least going to go once before the end of the year. Because, you know, sweet, sweet Saudi money.
Mm-hmm.
It is delicious. Like, I understand them coming to the UK because it's a big market and they can make some money and it's only for, you know, like they're doing 4 dates, but like, you can get your money off that.
Yeah.
But going to Saudi Arabia, like at the tail end of the pandemic, does that seem like a good idea? Like I know that they're contracted for like a certain amount of dates there, but you know, worldwide pandemic, we can kind of give you a little bit of leeway. I wouldn't want to see them go like this year because they should just, you know, concentrate on their own home markets first. Because here's the funny thing, right? From what I've heard, nobody in Saudi Arabia really gives a shit about the WWE, which makes the whole thing just baffling. Mind-blowing, right? Nobody really seems to give a shit. And yet they're being paid £1 million to go and do it. So I understand why they want to go because they're getting paid £1 million to do it. But also, like, it's not really one of their big drawing markets. You know, they
Well, I
shouldn't.
mean, in terms of money, it is.
Yes, but in terms of like actually being popular there,
Yeah.
right? They should probably focus more on some of their other markets. But again, what do we know? You know?
Yeah, I mean that's always been a weird situation anyway, because it's always been like the Crown Prince Mohammed, whatever his name is. He's basically trying to modernize the country, but like essentially still keeping it like quite oppressive
Oh yeah, you
uh
got to keep the
and everything.
oppression, man.
Yeah,
Look,
but he's,
look at
he's
America. You got to keep the oppression, man.
of course, where would they be without the oppression?
Exactly. That's half the fun. That way, one majority of race gets to survive forever,
Hmm.
and then everybody wins.
Except
Unless,
for that one race.
yeah, exactly. Unless you're one of the other minorities, in which case you don't win. But if we're, don't worry about that. Don't, because then once you start pointing out the flaws in the Saudi system, you got to start pointing out the flaws in the American system. And Americans are really touchy about being told what to do. They don't like it. They don't like it. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely some sketchy practices going on in Saudi Arabia. But then
Mhm.
that surely could be applied to, unfortunately, almost every other nation.
Oh, of course.
At least every other nation we could spell.
Yeah.
They're all pretty corrupt, really. That's the real problem. We gotta address the real problem here: corruption in the entire world.
Let's just burn it down and start again.
Well, they're on their way to that, my friend. They're on their way. They've almost got, dude. The fucking the ocean was on fire the other day.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The ocean was on fire. And this isn't even the first time they've done this. How do you set the ocean on fire more than once?
Ugh.
I haven't done it once, and I have tried. Lord knows I have tried, and it's never succeeded. I mean, that surely is when we know we've gone a bit too far, huh?
You'd think so, but well, what's gonna change from it? Let's face it.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of like the point of today's episode, is that we're both very hopeful. I'm kind of talking about what we think is going to happen on the road. We're very hopeful that we'll get some better storylines and more pushes for the people that really deserve it, and kind of like less big main events with just some fuck from the Attitude Era, But really, what's going to change? You know what I mean?
Mm,
We can be extremely hopeful, and we are. That's the one thing about our podcast. We're always extremely optimistic and hopeful.
eh,
Right? Um,
eh.
yeah. So, but once the WWE go back on the road, are they going to change? Mm,
No.
that questionable. When they don't have to, whenever money's coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about money. Money talks, unfortunately. I wish it would just shut its big yap. If you ask me. But yeah, I feel like we all want it to change, and we're very hopeful that WWE going back on the road is going to be the turning point for their creative, and it'll maybe kind of inspire them to be a little bit better now that they're in front of the fans, and
Mm.
really just get them back on the road again. Literally and figuratively. But again, we can only hope and get disappointed by them once again,
Yeah, absolutely.
because
I
it
mean,
feels like
that's
it happens every week.
yeah, and I think as shitty as like this whole pandemic era has been, like there have been positives you can take from it, like in the way it's kind of gone and forced WWE to do things a bit differently than they were doing it and try new things and like I said earlier, give like the superstars more of a break as well. And like I
Yes.
think that if they take these lessons and kind of use them, going forward, that would make the company a lot better. But
Yes.
at the same time, it seems more likely that they're just going to end up going back to what they were doing before, and nothing will ever change.
Well, that's the thing, man. You would think that if they made the company better, they would make more money from it.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, why wouldn't they do it? Because they want money. It seems Strange. Like, why wouldn't you want more money if all you care about is money? And clearly you do because you're hanging out with the Saudi Arabian people. Then why wouldn't you want more money?
Well, I
Just
think
make
they figured out the perfect way to make more money as well is to fire all their wrestlers. So why don't they just fire the rest of the roster and then they'll save even more money?
makes it very hard to do a wrestling show with no people on it.
I mean, they could just have, Vince playing with like the action figures or something in a mini ring and do it that way.
Imagine you paid $60. You drove all the way to Cardiff. And that was your main event. Would you be happy? Questionable at best.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on the presentation and everything.
Yeah, you'd have to play it by ear. You'd have to see what it'll look like.
Yeah.
Because you might be like, wasn't a big fan of the main event, but it looked great.
That's the thing. I'd be willing to give it a try. Although maybe not for £60.
Yeah, you say that now. You know what they do? They always listen to the worst part of these podcasts and they put it in the show, right? Remember when I used to say, "Oh, I wish the Miz would die," and he did, but it was because he was eaten by zombies. I'm like, that's not what I wanted. You know, that's not what I wanted. I wanted him to fall off a cliff. I wanted to see the photo to make sure that there was no way you could have faked this. Anyway, is there anything else you want to say about the WWE going back on the road that we haven't already covered?
Nah, not really.
It's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're just hopefully quietly optimistic that they're going to try and change and make some differences in their product, but we're also not going to hold our breath.
No.
We're pretty confident we know the answer, but we'd like it to be different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so WWE, do something good for once. I mean, they have been doing good shit, like you said. You know, they have been putting some good stuff on during the pandemic. Drew McIntyre, Asuka, the Bayley Sasha stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. But, you know, for 2021 and beyond, more of that, less of Nia Jax and puppets.
Yeah.
That's a good rule, isn't it? More Asuka and Bayley and less Nia Jax and puppets.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. Also less Fiend. No more Fiend. It was funny at first, and now it's almost infuriating.
Yeah.
It's the beat of my existence, the fucking Fiend. But anyway, let us know how much you hate the Fiend in the comments. And then also the sausage roll thing.
Mm-hmm.
If Americans know what sausage rolls are and where is the best place to get sausage rolls in America, these are very, very important questions. Please answer them. Because American sausage isn't the same as like UK sausage.
No,
it's very different. But ours, of course, is just the superior system.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think theirs are probably pretty decent. Like they're just used for the hot dogs and stuff, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, but like it's the whole totally different. Like they have like Frankfurter sausages, which aren't like proper. They're not proper sausages, right?
No,
you know what I mean? Totally different. So you guys don't even know. You guys don't even know the wonders of what we're talking about. If you're from the United States, you have no idea. And then all the people from the UK are like, fucking right, sausage rolls rip.
Mm-hmm.
They know. You guys know. You guys are the good ones. So that's the show. I think we're gonna wrap things up here for now. We're gonna be back next week with some other great show, probably. I mean, we always do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week, sometimes. So yeah, I guess we'll see you next week. Remember to subscribe and do all the comments that we said. All of them. It's very important. And you might win a prize. You won't. You won't win a prize. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. So take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Sure.